This is John Horrigan, producer of Air Expo. Tonight, a trip to the U.S. Coast Guard Air Station at Otis Air Base. Special thanks to Vin Horrigan and tonight's executive producer, Mr. Bob Dinan. Also, special thanks go out to Captain Mark Meservey and Lieutenant Commander Tom Cullen.
Absolutely.
What is your position here at this Coast Guard facility on the Otis Air Base?
I'm the public affairs officer, John. I've been here for about a year and a half now in that capacity, dealing with the media and various local civic organizations.
Now, we were explaining about what the helicopter's assignments are on this particular day, and the Falcon, the jet's responsibilities. Can you just briefly go over that, the helicopters that we saw take off?
Sure. Today we had one helicopter conducting a test flight for maintenance reasons. The other helicopter we saw was departing to work with a local boat station on crew and pilot proficiency, hoisting to and from the vessel.
And the Falcon, the Learjet, obviously has more range and speed than the helicopter, and therefore its assignments are more broader.
That's right. Typically they go further offshore, and they will escort us on SAR cases, typically beyond 100 miles from the shore. They'll get out there on scene first. They'll establish communications with the distressed vessel, relay any information to the trailing helicopter, who'll arrive on scene and be prepared to execute a plan.
Now, this being a very active hurricane season, although we have not been hit with a hurricane, we've certainly seen the residual effects. Has that made your job tougher? Have you been more active this year than as opposed to other years, or?
It's really hard to gauge. Typically we do upwards of 400 SAR cases annually. To determine the nature of the distress, I'd have to go back through all the records. But with the summer season, we get more recreational boaters, and we typically see an increase in activity. Certainly when the summer season tapers off, recreational boaters put their boats away, it dies off somewhat. But we have fishing, the fishing industry is year-round, and that keeps us pretty busy as well.
Now, this is primarily an air station here at Otis, correct?
That's right.
And if you rendezvous with cutters that are constantly at sea, in order to maintain fishing privileges so that nobody violates the fishing boundaries and the closed-off areas and whatnot, do you have a lot of those incursions whereby fishermen do go into the excluded areas?
Well, there's always an occasional violation. When the aircraft get airborne on a law enforcement patrol for fisheries, they're in contact with the cutters out there, and if they do suspect a vessel is in violation of a closed area, they'll contact the cutter, and the cutter will come over to him, further investigate the situation.
Now, what about as far as smuggling contraband in this area? Do you have a lot of activity regarding that here, or is that primarily in the southeastern part of the United States?
Can't really speak on that, John. We don't do too much of that here.
Because you're an air base as opposed to a seaport, and you do the spotting and rescuing whatnot from the air, but you don't actually board.
That's right.
Which is an entirely different branch of the Coast Guard.
Right. The cutters may get involved in that aspect of law enforcement, but the air station here, we do not.
Well, Mark, where did the cutters come out of?
We have cutters in Boston, we have cutters in New Bedford, and then various small boat stations around the Cape Cod and the South Shore and North Shore areas, all the way up to Maine.
And you being the main air facility in New England, is that safe to say, or just in southeastern Mass, or?
We are one of the largest Coast Guard air stations in the United States. Of course, there's an air station in Brooklyn also. There's an air facility in Savannah, Georgia, and then there's an air station down in Clearwater, Florida, and then Miami, Florida.
Are there any, can you reference any activity you've been involved in this summer that have been interesting, whether it be a rescue, whether it be finding somebody that was presumed lost?
One particular case I recall is a 18-foot pleasure craft with 3 people departed Nantucket en route to Chatham in heavy fog. They missed Monomoy Island, they missed Chatham completely, and ended up about 30 miles northeast of Provincetown, out of gas, near hypothermic conditions. We found them after they had been drifting about for approximately 4 hours. Once we got on scene, we were losing the sun. I deployed a rescue swimmer to remain on scene with the personnel because they were near hypothermic. He stayed on scene, and I was getting low on fuel, so I had to depart. A 41-foot utility boat from Station Provincetown was responding, and he had approximately an hour to get out to that position. So I elected to keep the rescue swimmer on scene, who's a trained EMT.
Mark, can you tell me one of the more amazing survival stories that you have encountered or this air station has encountered? I.e., they battle against the odds, and obviously you have to go out in all weather conditions. It doesn't matter if there's a blizzard or a hurricane warning. Coast Guard works 24 hours a day. Can you maybe tell me about a harrowing rescue or an outstanding survival story?
Well, obviously, the weather conditions present very challenging situations whenever we go out. It's typically when the vessels become distressed. I can recall one case down in Florida where a twin-engine Cessna departed the Bahamas and had fuel contamination problems and had to ditch in the water. They were afloat for 4 days, and on my 4th day of searching, we noticed a flicker of light outside of the aircraft. It was actually one of the survivors using his credit card to signal the helicopter.
Wow. No flotsam or jetsam around to mark or debris marking. And it was just barely by him contacting you with a credit card?
That's right.
Wow.
Right. And there were 4 of them huddled together in a circle, which is a great survival technique. And they were able to maintain the confidence that they would be located and saved by doing that. And we picked them up on their 4th day at sea.
Wow. Wow. Now, when you have bad weather, it really must prey on the nerves. That's really when you have to go down and dig deep for it. What are some of the bigger swells that you have encountered during some of the storms that meander up the coast or the ones that come in from the northeast?
Well, it does vary. I've seen swells up to probably 20 feet. And of course it makes it challenging when you're trying to lower down a rescue device to a sailing vessel with a mast that's swinging back and forth, almost nearly touching the water with all kinds of rigging. Some of the vessels do get quite cluttered. It makes it very challenging to do that.
Mm-hmm. Now, as far as the Gulf Stream, meanders off to the south of Cape Cod, does that pose any problems as far as navigation for recreational boaters if they get out at a certain limit that they may not be swept away by the current, but they may find it that they're swimming upstream, so to speak?
Yeah, I don't know, John. I can't really talk about that. You're speculating a lot.
Great. Tell me about the aircraft on base here that you have.
Sure, we have 3 HU-25 jets made by Falcon Corporation of America. Coast Guard calls them the Guardian jet. And we have 4 HH-60J helicopters manufactured by Sikorsky Aircraft, and their predominant use is for search and rescue operations.
Are they all flying every day? Or what is your schedule? Like, how many helos do you have up in the air at one time? How many jets? Or do you have 24-hour coverage?
We do have 24-hour coverage. We have a crew assigned each 24 hours per airframe. And they do live on base here and ready to respond within a moment's notice. Typically, we have 3 to 4 sorties per day, depending on aircraft availability and operational commitments.
Okay. Now, what is the range of one of these choppers, would you say, for fuel?
With a maximum fuel load in the Jayhawk, we can go out approximately 300 miles on scene, hover for approximately 30 minutes, and then return.
Tom Cullen, Lieutenant Commander here at the Coast Guard unit at Otis. Could you tell us a little bit about this Falcon?
Well, the Falcon Fanjet that we fly is a modified version of a civilian business jet manufactured by the Salt Brigade Company. It's a modified Falcon 20. We normally fly with a crew of 5, 2 pilots, a drop master, another observer, and an avionicsman in the back. And our primary responsibility here in the New England area is search and rescue and fisheries enforcement.
Mm-hmm. What is the range of the aircraft, and how many hours do you have up before you have to come back and get more juice?
We normally can fly, our normal sorties would be between 2.5 to 3.5 hours, although we can fly for up to 5 hours.
and Mark was telling us about one of the sorties this morning went to maintain fishing rights or to make sure everything's kosher off the Georges Bank and nobody's violating the fishing grounds. Is that a routine mission for you?
It sure is. There are the 3 closed areas in the Georges Bank, so we go out and we just make sure that the fishing fleet's in compliance with those closed areas. And we normally do go out and just do sweeps through different areas, Gulf of Maine, south of Long Island and the canyons, just to get an idea of what types of vessels are out there, make sure there aren't any gear conflicts and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Do you have many violations of foreign or incursions into the fishing areas by foreign fishing vessels?
We really don't.
That's good. That's good. Great. Can you show us a little bit of the aircraft?
Sure. We have 3 of these aircraft here at Air Station Cape Cod. It's powered by 2 Allied Signal turbofan engines. Each engine produces about 5,400 pounds of thrust. Very high thrust for the size engine that we fly. You can see this is where the observers would sit. They have a pretty good view looking out. Directly beneath, there's a drop hatch that opens up with which we can deliver a dewatering pump, a small gas-powered, basically lawnmower engine that can dewater a vessel taking on water. And also we can deliver a raft by parachute delivery to somebody that's in trouble.
So contrary to the high speed that this achieves and the inability to achieve a very low speed, you still have a lot of air-to-water applications, dropping equipment to bail out boats and rafts and whatnot.
We sure do. And the nice thing about the Falcon is that it's really the world's fastest search and rescue response aircraft. We could be on scene long before anybody else, either a surface unit or a rescue helicopter. So we can assess the situation very quickly and then report back what we think would be the best resource to assist. And so frequently we find ourselves flying cover for a helicopter that would be out there sometimes several hundred miles from shore, executing a hoist and then escorting them back in. We could assume communications responsibilities for them and also to make sure that they're okay. And the helicopter pilots sometimes tell us that it's a good feeling sometimes on a dark night knowing that they have somebody out there with them.
Sure. Tell me about the crew. How many, or does it vary on the mission? What you mentioned an observer, obviously, pilot and co-pilot.
Normal crew would be, as I mentioned, the 5. That's what we call a ready crew, our SAR, search and rescue ready crew. There are a couple other variants of this aircraft. This is an A model. There's also a B model, which we used to have here at Cape Cod. Now they operate out of Corpus Christi, Texas, that had a large side-looking airborne radar, which we found is very good for detecting contaminants on the water, oil and or chemicals or so forth. And so they have a different crew configuration with a sensor operator. We also have another model called the C model, the Charlie model, which has a fire control radar similar to the Air Force's F-16 radar, which is used for tracking other aircraft. And they also would have a different crew with a sensor operator, and their responsibilities are more down in the southern part of the United States, flying and detecting aircraft suspected of smuggling contraband into the country.
We've had some ocean liners run aground, some luxury liners. We've had some tankers run aground. Obviously, you guys were heavily involved in that, even though there wasn't much you could do and to wait for the tide for the ocean liner.
Right. We were called, pretty early in some of these situations to go out and give our operational commanders a first look and to verify that in fact there was not a spill, or if there was a spill, what the extent was. Sometimes the untrained eye can't detect some of the dampening on the surface of the ocean that the radar could find.
Can we take a peek inside?
Absolutely. This is the cockpit here. When we accepted the aircraft into service back in 1982, it was really a state-of-the-art, and still is in many respects, fully integrated, meaning that navigation equipment can go back and forth between the two sides here, the pilot and co-pilot. We have state-of-the-art navigation communications equipment on board, including the GPS, the Global Positioning System, which is satellite-based. And we also have the traffic collision avoidance system, frequently called TCAS, so we can see other aircraft up to 40 miles away.
Because obviously your air patterns to some extent are unorthodox because of the low altitudes you have to do, or the banking and whatnot. Is that why you have such a device? I mean, that.
Well, mainly it's a safety of flight item. Most of the civilian carriers are now required to have these, and it's just a real good thing to have operating in a high density area like the Boston metropolitan area with all the aircraft that are out there.
Tell me about some of your radar here. I see I'm looking at some scopes here.
Well, this is our primary, really our only radar. This is a repeater. The main set is operated from the back. It's a combination surface search weather radar. It can go out to effectively about 40 miles or so, and we can detect surface contacts and also use it to avoid thunderstorms, severe weather.
What about when there's some sort of marine life hazard, whether it be a school of whales beaching themselves, maybe, I don't know, just using this, maybe there's sharks or a massive jellyfish incursion. Do you ever participate in that one, especially if a flock of whales, if that's what you call them?
Very, very infrequently. If we see some marine life out in the area during a normal patrol, we'll try to put it down as a sighting. But with the speed of the aircraft, frequently it's very difficult to see anything smaller than a whale.
So this vehicle is search and not rescue, more or less, because does it have facilities?
I can open up the drop hatch and show you that.
Great.
This is our drop hatch right here. In this container we have the dewatering pump, which I explained earlier has the small gasoline-powered engine, parachute package on top. There's a drop trolley that goes along this rail here, and the drop master will be strapped into the side of the aircraft, and he will lower the package into the hole, and as we maneuver the airplane about 200 feet above the vessel in distress, we can deliver this or an inflatable raft. So there is a limited rescue role. You're correct that our primary mission would be to go out and search and then act as an on-scene commander for whatever operation.
Can you reference, Tom, a rescue or a sighting that's happened recently that was peculiar in circumstance or harrowing as far as the safety of the people in the water? Or you normally have your standard Joe Sunday out in his boat, I'm sure, and then the people that go out and don't heed gale warnings and whatnot and get caught offshore. But have there been some particular?
Well, we had over 400 cases, I believe, Mark, last year, and a lot of them were inadvertent activations of an emergency position indicator radio beacon, the EPIRBs. We have
false alarms.
A very large number of those, and upwards of 9 out of 10 of these are inadvertent. And we launch on every single one of these to go out and find them. Certainly not an unusual, exciting case, but that's where a lot of our effort goes. But then we've also had quite a few pretty interesting and successful search and rescue cases.
Lieutenant Commander, talking about maintenance and the support of this type of aircraft, obviously with the usage, the wear and tear is telling on the aircraft and support.
Well, you have to understand that we operate in a unusual environment for an aircraft. We're flying very low down to, next to salt water. And we come back, and typically the aircraft will be covered in a very fine layer of salt, and that, of course, is a very active corrosive agent. So we're finding that we have to really have an aggressive corrosion control program. Well, this aircraft a couple weeks ago struck a deer upon landing here at Otis, and did some damage to the a landing gear door on the left side, and also 2 of the flap segments.
Whereabouts is George's Banks and the fishing ones that, say, for instance, is one of the jets this morning? You point those out. Whereabouts are those located?
Approximately in this area out here. The operations.
Morning, gentlemen. Been Horrigan.
Yeah, Dan.
That's been Horrigan.
Dan Travers. This is manned around the clock. When there we have airborne aircraft. Dan is the operations duty officer. There is a 24-hour period when he has aircraft airborne.